Hello and welcome to Tycoons. If the term business aristocracy means anything at all, then my guest today epitomizes it. Though it's not an adjective he's very fond of, the term blue blood is usually used to describe Nusli Wadia. In part, it describes his lineage, his heritage, but it also describes a state of mind. In many ways, the Wadias are part of a generation that should actually have been out of the picture as Indian industry has changed. And Nusli Wadia has been through some very tough times, but he stuck it out and he's prospered. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I began talking about the generational change. It is no secret now that around the time you really entered the business, your father was on the verge of selling out to the Goenkas. You fought him. You said you were going to stay on. You said your future was in India. You were going to make a go of things, even though he thought India was changing too quickly for honest and decent people to do business. Looking back after all these years, any regrets?
No regret on the decision. The regret is that in some ways my father was prophetic.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, and prophetic in the sense that not on the business environment or the opportunity or, India being a great country and we are Indians and we should be here and we should have stayed on. There's no issue. I'm 100% sure that's the decision I took there and I will take for the rest of my life. I'll never leave here. But when he said it would become very difficult to do business here for honest people, the answer is yes, that he was right about. In fact, I think if you ask me candidly, it's worse than he would have imagined.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, simply because, with liberalization, one thought the involvement of government and the activity of government in business would diminish. It hasn't. It's increased. Because the richer opportunities in business are still controlled by government. And when they control them, that's where it starts.
It's no secret that in the 1980s particularly, you went through a really bad patch when there was almost a sense that the government was ranged against you. If I remember at one stage, they even tried to deport you and claimed you weren't an Indian. At that stage, were there regrets? Did you say to yourself,
no, not at all.
How
because
come?
There the issue was, I didn't agree with what was happening, and as a citizen, I was expressing my own view, and I tied up with, not I tied up, I should say, Ramnaji and I worked together. And frankly, the issue was that Ramnaji took on the establishment and I was a part of that activity. And I have no regrets for it.
But you're probably the only businessman I know who the government has tried to deport, whose business rivals have tried to kill him, who's had virtually the entire government of India against him, who's fought back and taken on the government of India. Nothing in your background, born into this nice, genteel Parsi family, suggests that you were capable of doing it. Was it difficult?
Well, to start with, you only talked to one half of my family.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the other half in the second part.
So when you say
so
the genteel half,
yeah.
I don't know whether it is only the genteel half that is in my genes.
But it wasn't the Wadia part, surely?
Probably not. Probably not, in the sense that to stand up, I think came substantially from other genes, which are quite controversial at the moment. But anyway, but that was, one of the issues was standing up. That's what happened in historically. Did you agree with it or disagree with it? And so I suppose some genetic transfer took place.
So do you recognize the Jinnah genes in you, you think?
100%.
Yeah, in what way? What do you think you inherited from there?
I think one inherits the genes of one's family, both sides of the family.
I would say, having known your father a little bit, that what you inherited from him was his essential honesty, his integrity, his belief in loyalty, in decency, and his charitable disposition, the sense that you had to do things for the community, that you had a greater responsibility than just making money. That bit is clear. The other half, what do you inherit from the other side?
No, also integrity.
I said integrity.
No, other side is integrity.
Jinnah's integrity? Really? Explain that.
I think he's a man.
Because he's a controversial figure, so tell me what you think.
Controversy is actually, integrity is a cause of controversy very often because a man sticks to his beliefs. And Jinnah was, I think, even his worst enemy will say he was a man of the highest integrity.
Yes.
Intellectual, financial, of course.
He was
no issue. Yeah. He made his own money. He didn't have any opportunity to be financially, lack of integrity didn't exist for him. Because he was a self-made man, and apart from that, he earned every cent that he had. So there was no integrity issue there. But intellectual integrity, nobody ever denied. He didn't say one thing and do another. He did what he said he was going to do.
He was also a fighter. Is that where you got it from?
Partly, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Because
my father was a much softer, gentler person.
Jinnah was a tough guy. He was a fighter. He was a guy who never let go.
Yeah, he stuck to what he believed, and he pursued it. You can agree with what he pursued. You can disagree with what he pursued. That's that's the debate at the moment. For which people are paying the price. But anyway.
When you see this debate happening, many of the people involved are actually very close friends of yours. Just one thing, it's no secret, is a close friend of yours.
Very close friend.
Yeah. L.K. Advani, who's perhaps somewhere in the middle, Arun Jaitley, who's clearly on the other side. All of these people are your friends. How does it feel looking at it? Because it's really your grandfather they're discussing.
Well, if you ask me, I don't know how to put this, but in the case of Jaswant Singh, he wrote a book.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has a right to say he doesn't have a right to write a book.
Fair enough.
And I don't think anybody can condemn him for having done so. They can disagree with what he said. They can challenge what he said. But I have read the book, not in totality, but I've read the book. And when I read the book, I certainly didn't find anything offensive in what he said about Patel. I think to my mind that's a total fiction.
Okay.
Which was created, I think, to meet an exigency and to justify an action.
You don't think that's why they got rid of him? You think it was an excuse after the event?
You read the book. There are 6 references to to Vallabhbhai, and all 6 references are on 6 pages out of 600. And not one of those references is offensive. On the contrary, it actually sympathizes and empathizes with him.
But actually they began by saying that they were expelling him because he supported Jinnah. The Patel thing was an afterthought, perhaps because they thought Advani...
I don't know what happened there, but I am disappointed because if you ask me, Advani's statement on Jinnah, to which he stuck very...
The one he made in Pakistan.
And for which he paid a very, sadly paid a price, and which hurt him. Frankly, what Jaswant Singh said was less.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think if you ask me, what Lalji said, what Advaniji said was a great deal stronger than what Jaswant Singh said.
So why are there double standards?
That you must ask them. How can I answer that?
Mr. Advani is one of your oldest friends. You've known him for what, 30 years, 40 years?
Yeah.
How does it feel when you see him in this situation?
Sad.
Yeah?
Very sad.
I obviously don't know him as well as you do, but I somehow imagine that he would have come out, if not in favor of Jaswant, at least at a personal level made some attempt to reach out. Instead, he seems to have retreated into a shell.
I can't understand it. I haven't spoken to him, but frankly, it's out of character for him. I'm a little surprised, and I don't know why, but one day when I meet him, I'll certainly ask him.
On the subject of Jaswant Singh, one suggestion that the BJP is putting about is that you actually financed the book, that you made Jaswant Singh do it to glorify your grandfather. Is that accurate?
Well, using intemperate language on television is not actually allowed. Otherwise,
I don't mind. Go ahead.
Otherwise, I would really say something on that. That's nonsense.
Nonsense?
It's absolute nonsense. I mean, a man is going to spend 5 years writing a book for Nusli Wadia. What has Nusli Wadia got to do with Jaswant Singh? We are friends. You and I are friends. So tomorrow if you write a piece in the Hindustan Times or you write on something, you wrote recently on the Ambanis.
Well, exactly the same thing has been suggested.
Therefore, did I influence you? Did I fund you? I didn't even know you'd written the thing.
So you read it in
the paper.
I
knew Jaswant Singh was writing a book on Jinnah simply because he asked me only that if I had any papers or things which I could lay my hands on, and frankly I didn't. I was 4 years old when my grandfather left. All his papers are in Pakistan, etc. And he accessed everything from wherever the libraries were or the authorities were. And that's it. Financing him? Why would he need my financing?
And why would you
need a publisher?
And why would you need someone to glorify Jinnah? Sorry, by the way.
And I don't need, frankly, my grandfather is my grandfather. That's not going to change. The fact that I'm proud of him is not going to change. I don't need Jaswant Singh to write a certificate for him. I don't think he needs a certificate. So, where's the issue of my funding Jaswant Singh?
But you are aware that this sort of thing has been said?
No, I didn't know people had said that I funded it.
A, people have said you funded it. B, that you put him up to it because you were concerned
I never put him up to it. In fact, he never discussed it with me until I believe, because he mentioned to me, look, I've got a manuscript which I've written on your grandfather, and if there are any photographs you have, etc., I would be grateful for the help that you could give me, etc. He never met my mother, never discussed with my mother, never interviewed her, never discussed with me, never interviewed me on Jinnah, nothing.
So the first you knew
It's
about...
a total fiction. And unfortunately, it is actually to try and kill the credibility of his book,
Right.
and it doesn't succeed.
Well, they've certainly killed his political career, haven't they?
I don't know if anybody's political career ever gets killed.
You've seen the BJP up close. You were famously, it used to be said when the BJP was in power, the only man who could walk in and out of Advani's house and Vajpayee's house and talk frankly to both of them. Do you recognize the party that's done this?
The fact is that I grew up in a sense, and that's a contradiction. Now, if I was to try and get a book done and written by Jaswant Singh, hypothetically, why would I need to do that? And I had already got friends in the BJP, and what was I trying to accomplish?
Right.
Now, tomorrow you'll say, Advani made these statements. Now, was I in Karachi with
Did
Advani?
you send him off to Pakistan and make him say
So
that?
I therefore sponsored his trip to Pakistan for him to make this. I mean, these are all nonsense. I think we shouldn't really bother to respond to this. But coming to the other question which you asked, I got to know Vajpayee and Advani through Nanaji, and I'm talking about 1966.
Right.
Now, from 1966 to 2000 approximately, when you know people, obviously you have met them, and when you've had the ability to meet them, talk to them, have dinner with them, interact with them, in all the years they're out of power, why does power change that? It doesn't. It shouldn't, at least, I hope. And so that my relationship just continued as it was.
So given that you knew them so well, are you surprised by the way the BJP has behaved? Is this
Frankly,
the BJP?
I'm surprised, yes. I'm very surprised. I'm saddened and I'm appalled.
Really, that strongly?
Yes, I'm appalled.
Have you spoken to Jaswant Singh since he's been expelled?
Very many times. He's a friend of mine.
And have you spoken to Mr. Advani since it's happened?
No, because I
He's
don't know
not,
what...
he's a friend of yours too.
He's a friend of mine, but I don't know what to say to him, because it's a decision which I'm not able to fathom. And I haven't been to Delhi, and I don't want to communicate with Mr. Advani on the phone. It wouldn't be proper on an issue like this. But when I get an opportunity, I will certainly be very curious to know what happened and why it happened, because I think it's very unfair.
All right, that's right. I want to come back. I want to talk a little bit about other events other than the Jaswant Singh and Jinnah controversy, but that's after the break. So